What is up, guys? My name is Regardt and I'm coming to you with another NAG video review. In this week's episode, I'm taking a look at the first gaming phone you'll see in South Africa. I'm of course referring to the Razer Phone. Look at that. Now, if you've been keeping your eye on any technology and gaming news over the last year or so, you would have definitely heard about Razer's entry into the phone market. As a consumer gaming brand, Razer has really made a name for itself with top quality accessories over the last few years. More specifically, its headphones, mice and keyboards have really been a hit with gamers, especially in South Africa. And only recently I've looked at the new Razer headphones for the Xbox One, which was pretty sweet. So it wasn't really a surprise to hear that they were entering into the smartphone market, but it is pretty unique for a peripheral manufacturer, especially in the gaming sector, to enter into something like the smartphone industry, which is pretty competitive as it is. You have also seen photographs of the smartphone as it was plopped into a notebook, the Razer notebook that was intended to be powered off of the smartphone. It's pretty interesting technology, but nowhere near as great as the phone itself. Now, you honestly wouldn't expect a peripheral manufacturer to produce a smartphone as good as this. Well, the reality is they didn't produce it themselves. In January of 2017, Razer bought a company called Nextbit, and they had a phone called the Robin, which was touted as the first cloud-based phone, essentially a phone that would have all its storage based on the cloud. Now, when Razer bought this company, they obviously converted this phone into a full-on gaming machine. And there it is, the Razer smartphone. Now, you'll notice it's a pretty square shape, and that is one of the things I really like about the smartphone. Now, the shape obviously comes from the original Nextbit design, but I really like it. It's a square shape and it doesn't pretend to be anything that competes with any current smartphone on the market today. The shape with the sharper edges makes it very comfortable to hold, especially in a vertical grip when you want to play games and have full control over your phone and reach all corners of the screen. Now, the Razer phone is by no means perfect, but we'll get to that a little bit later. What is it really good at? Well, for starters, this is the first phone with a 120 Hz screen. Yes, 120 Hz. That's more than most computer screens for consumer desktops today. So what is the real benefit with a 120 Hz screen? Well, gamers would know this, but it allows your screen to refresh at a much higher rate, essentially keeping up with the frames that your graphics processing unit is throwing out. One of the downsides of not having a high refresh rate screen is that the screen often cannot keep up with the graphics processing unit, and something called tearing often occurs, and that is when one frame gets taken over by another frame because the screen cannot keep up. Looking under the hood of this mobile gaming beast is the Snapdragon 835 processor with 8 cores running at 2.4 GHz. There's 8 GB of RAM and 64 GB of storage, which can be expanded with the expandable storage card slot. Now, looking at the screen, the 5.7-inch LCD has a resolution of 1440 by 2560. It's certainly not the highest resolution screen we've seen in smartphones today, but that really doesn't matter. It's that refresh rate that we are after. Now, it should be noted that right out of the box, the Razer smartphone isn't set to 120 Hz. You just need to set that in the configuration settings. And this is just to offer a better battery versus performance value. Speaking about the battery, the Razer smartphone has a 4000 mAh battery, which is more than enough for all-day use, including a few hours of gaming thrown in. Looking at screen on time, I've got about 5.5 hours playing games straight, and that is pretty impressive for a smartphone today. Looking at battery life under normal working conditions, so I got all-day battery life every day that I used this device, and I used it quite a lot for emails, web browsing, and doing some photography. Unfortunately, the camera is one area where the Razer smartphone will let you down. This is not a very strong mobile shooter. The Razer smartphone sports two 12 megapixel cameras on the rear and one 8 megapixel on the front. As someone who uses a smartphone camera on a daily basis, this is a bit of a problem for me, and I really didn't like the images that it produced. If you're just going to keep your photographs online on social media, throw on a few filters, you probably won't notice a difference. But if you're a little bit more particular about the shots you take, you will notice the softer shots. And it's really a pity that the camera isn't as strong as what it should have been. Let's be honest, we all use our smartphones as our primary camera these days. And it really is an important feature of a smartphone, even if it is a gaming device. But having said that, the experience that this phone delivers still outweighs most of those downsides. One thing I found a little surprising about the Razer smartphone was the lack of a 3.5mm audio jack. Now, we know gamers love to plug in their audio as opposed to using Bluetooth, so this was a pretty strange oversight. But they did include a dongle, so another one for the collection. And when it comes to using the Razer smartphone as your daily driver, there's certainly a lot of benefits to doing so. This is a powerhouse and it really performs well with any application you want to run. Scrolling through screens is battery smooth, and it is such a pleasure to look at the screen. In fact, I switched on the screen probably more than what I normally do, just to experience that battery smooth scrolling in between screens. Now, even though it doesn't have a 3.5mm audio jack and Bluetooth is the way to connect, I was very happy with the power of the speakers. The speakers on this phone is incredibly loud, and you probably wouldn't even need to connect headphones if you're playing in a relatively quiet room. Even listening to music has proved very successful by just placing this phone down on a table. It really is a great device for entertaining and for gaming. Now, in terms of layout and feel in your hand, like I said, the square shape is absolutely fantastic. Now, looking at the buttons and layout of this phone, you'll see on the right hand side is the power button and fingerprint reader, which is in a very good position for switching on the phone when you're picking it up. On the left hand side are two volume rockers, but unfortunately the buttons feel a little bit flimsy, and it's probably the only part of this phone that I didn't really like. Now, looking at the Android part of this Razer Android smartphone, I was very happy to find that they kept the operating system as stock as possible. They included the Nova launcher, which is a fantastic Android launcher for customizability, and it really looks great. Now, all things considered, the cameras aren't as good as what they should be. Those volume buttons that just don't feel right on this body, and the lack of a 3.5mm audio jack doesn't detract from how good this phone is in a gaming environment. Putting this phone side by side with another smartphone, you can really see how smooth the performance is when you play games. And it really has turned me into a mobile gamer. Over the last 2 weeks, I've been playing a lot of PUBG Mobile, and I've also been playing some Asphalt 8, just to kind of see how this phone pushes the performance benefits. Even day-to-day tasks just feel a lot better using this high refresh rate screen. Now, at the time of shooting this video, this phone hasn't officially been launched in the country yet, but I have it on good authority that it's coming before the end of the year. In fact, by the time I launch this video, I should hopefully have the details confirmed in the details box below. In conclusion, Razer really did a fantastic job to bring a phone that a lot of gamers have been demanding for a long time into our hands. Now, as somebody that's tested a lot of phones over the years, one of the things that stood out for me about the Razer most is the unique offering that they've brought to the market. This is not a phone that pretends to be anything other than what it is, a serious gaming device. The look and feel in your hand, the high refresh rate, and those speakers certainly sets this phone apart from any other device if you put it down on the table. From that point alone, I really liked walking around with the Razer phone. It certainly is a conversation starter, and everybody that I showed it to kind of was hooked on the idea of a 120Hz screen. But sadly, time has come for me to give the phone back. I'm going to have to format it, pack it up, and get back to my old Android smartphone. But hopefully I'll get some hands-on time with this one again. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down, and do subscribe to the NAG channel. From Regardt and the NAG team, until the next time, ciao ciao.